Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to VA Friyays. Hopefully, you guys had a great week, and hopefully, you have something exciting planned for the whole weekend. So, today I'm going to talk about what is the ugly truth about pre-approval letters and what it's supposed to mean, and all the things actually what it's supposed to mean versus what it actually means, and the way to kind of deal with a pre-approval letters you're not really sure, or even your clients aren't sure with, in regards to how things work. So before we get into it, I'm gonna dive right into a dad joke. My father used to say, "You don't always get what you pay for." Great dude, terrible delivery driver. Get it? All right. Pew pew. All right. So getting around to the pre-approval letter. So what is a pre-approval letter? A pre-approval letter is essentially a document that is received, that is given by the lender or from the lender, to say that the client is financially capable of buying a house. Right? This is something that you get from the lender. I think over the years and over the last maybe 10 or 15 years, this pre-approval letter has been um, kind of something of a weird thing where people I think the appeal is getting it as fast as you can, right? And really sacrificing quality, right? But the idea of the pre-approval letter is that whatever it says on the pre-approval letter, whatever they reviewed and all that stuff is what they said they did, and there's nothing that's stopping the client from buying the house. At least that's how I define what a pre-approval letter is. Now, when you get this, typically, the client would apply, do all the things, and do what they're supposed to be doing, and get the pre-approval letter. I think what's happening is that lenders are prioritizing speed over quality. So that's why you have a lot of these big box lenders where they get a pre-approval letter and these deals fall through, or they're having a hard time, or it's a struggle bus just trying to get to the finish line to close the loan. It's probably because their lack of thoroughness in the pre-approval letter itself. Sometimes things come up, totally get it. But in most cases, if 50% of the time the lender you're working with or happen to be working with only closes loans 50% of the time, and they're always giving a pre-approval letter, are they really giving a pre-approval letter? Does that make sense? So what's kind of crazy about a pre-approval letter is not a legally required document. Not at all. I can really all that's required for me to write a pre-approval letter is the client's name and the purchase price they want. I can literally write you one right now by hand on a piece of napkin, and that's effectively what a pre-approval. That's the significance of a pre-approval letter, right? So it's really not a legally required document. So if the loan doesn't close, guess what? I don't get in trouble, not legally at least. I'm sure you'll get in trouble for other reasons, for not being able to close a loan and saying that stuff. But that's why it's really important to make sure who you're working with, because a pre-approval letter is essentially me telling you the loan will close based on this purchase price. It's just me writing in writing, telling you that this loan will close because we've based on these parameters, right? So how do you get around that? Because I could really write you one, and if it doesn't close, oh well, that's not legally, I'm not going to get in trouble. So how do you get around that? Well, the thing is, you got to really dive into the whole reputation of the loan officer you got the pre-approval letter from, and the reputation of the reviews, reputation, how they do the pre-approval process. Because at the end of the day, the pre-approval process, the most important part of it is being thorough. Because if it's the more thorough it is upfront, the better the contract to close process should be, right? The way I look at it is you spend. It's a lot like when you spend days and hours and weeks preparing for something that's only going to be for about for a much shorter time than you took the time to prepare for it. Like, so for example, if you're a fitness competitor, you're going to spend months, weeks, sometimes years training to be a fitness competitor. But when you get to the point where you actually compete, it's only about maybe a couple of hours, right? It's like that. So that's why it's very extremely important to have the pre-approval process as thorough as possible. And the categories that I always tell clients when it comes to the pre-approval process itself is that imagine you had X amount of money, let's say $500,000 in your bank account. Now imagine with your current income how long it took you to save up to $500,000. It's a lot of time. It's a long time, and that's a lot of money. And now someone has come to you and asked for $500,000 loan, for a $500,000 loan that they're going to use to buy a house, and they're going to make a monthly payment for the next 30 years. So 360 payments for the next 30 years to include interest, right? First of all, that's a long time to get your money back. It's a lot of money just to lend to someone. If that was the case, what would you want to know about this person? You wouldn't want to know everything. And that's one of the reasons why we are so very thorough with the pre-approval process, because we care about the loan closing more so trying to appease the client to get that pre-approval letter as fast as possible. Most clients don't have a full understanding of what the pre-approval letter means. I ask them all the time. Every single conversation I have with them in the initial chat is like, what do you guys know about the pre-approval process, or what a pre-approval means? They're like, we have no idea. We were just told to go get one, and that was it. So as real estate agents, you can really help us, set expectations in regards to how this pre-approval process works, because you guys know the importance of it. But most clients don't. They don't have any idea. They might have gotten pre-approved with an auto loan, but again, that process is completely different in regards to buying a house versus an auto loan. So something you want to consider, and maybe get with your loan officer partner to figure out, like, okay, maybe to figure out how to best describe how the pre-approval process works. You can just take my exact description of what I just did about having that $500K loan and then lending it out. I do that. I use that analogy every single time. It really gives them a perspective on what they need to give us and how this process takes. And this may take a couple of days because that's how thorough it needs to be. Now, I would say if you go a week or 2 weeks without a pre-approval letter, especially with no updates in between, then yes, that's probably too long. But I can tell you that once we get an application and the client sends in all the documents and stuff like that, we'll need like a couple of hours, probably a day, to kind of reanalyze the file completely. And they would probably most likely be pre-approved, or we have an answer where their pre-approval status would be within a day or two. So it's really, if you just take an extra 2 or 3 days just to be as thorough as possible, it could save you, 15, 30 hours of your life, days of your lives on making a contract, because then you can put it in a very competitive offer on a contract in regards to closing dates. And that you're going to be able to close that transaction, or your loan officer is going to be able to close that transaction without a lot of headaches on you. And that's what's the most important, because if there's a lot less headaches on you, you spend a lot less time as a real estate agent having to manage the deal, and you go out and get more business. For the client, the process is so much smoother if they're able to get us all the stuff up front, and there might be some updates throughout the way, but it's a lot less taxing on the client on contract to close when we're kind of getting down to that show. So it's just so much easier if all expectations are set such that we are trying to get them as thorough as a pre-approval as we can in the very beginning phases. And again, what a pre-approval letter means is just it's my word telling you that it's my word to tell you that this client, that you will close on the house, right? It's me telling you that, yes, you will close. And it's just written down in paper with little parameters and things like that. So that's essentially, it all boils down to the reputation of the loan officer. So it's something to consider on the pre-approval letters that you're getting from maybe loan officers or lenders that you don't enjoy working with. Maybe look up the reviews, maybe look up their reputation and see what their quality and their the response from their clients are like. So that will help you guys give a clue in regards to if that lender is competent and goes by their word based on that pre-approval letter that they give you. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Hope you guys took some value out of this. This is especially most important with VA clients because VA has such a negative narrative on the real estate world. So the more thorough the VA pre-approval will be, the better the contract to close process, the more we can change that narrative around VA loans specifically. But this applies to all different loan programs, especially when I do conventional and FHA loans too. I want to be as thorough as possible. So that's all I got. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Nuke out.